Welcome to the Pixel Retentive podcast, where we, a business owner and an artist, discuss the business of art and the art of business. Hey friends, I'm Carl, founder of Epic Made, and I'm the host of the Pixel Retentive podcast, where we share our thoughts on creativity, art, and business. Past guests include Cassandra O'Brien of Chiz6, John Kane of Optic Nerve, and Danielle Lateef of Badassery. I'm forever grateful for the supporters of our podcast, and we are always looking for more sponsors. That said, Pixel Retentive is brought to you by the creative gurus at Epic Made. Epic Made is a team of artists and strategists who craft entertainment quality animation and illustration that grabs attention and gets results. With clients like Nickelodeon, WWE, and Sci-Fi, we know how to speak to pop culture savvy audiences. Visit getepicmade.com and let us collaborate on your next creative campaign. All right, so with us today we have Alex Krokus. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thanks for having me on, Carl.
Yeah, man, super excited. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. But before we get into that, Alex Krokus is a Alex Krokus is a cartoonist working in comics in animation. His work has been published by Vice, BuzzFeed, and the New York Times. The second collection of his webcomic, titled Loud and Smart and in Color, was published by Silver Sprocket in February, and his debut graphic novel, Talking to My Father's Ghost, will be released by Chronicle Books in August of this year. Awesome. Exciting stuff, man.
Thanks. You make me sound really impressive.
But you are, so that's good. I mean, you're on the Pixel Retentive podcast. Like, that means you're impressive, right?
Baby.
We've had Fred Seibert on here twice. Let's go. But yeah, dude, really cool stuff. You know, I know you and I have a lot in common, having lost our fathers, and we talked about that and the healing journey of that. So I can't wait to get into that some more in a little bit. But before we jump into today's topic, I'd love for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So how long have you been in your industry, and what project are you most proud of so far?
I'd say that I've been in my industry a little bit over a decade. I started freelancing as a freelance animator in 2015, but for a few years leading up to that, I was drawing webcomics and working on like my first short film. But I think that I really entered the industry in 2015, mostly as a freelance commercial animator.
Okay.
In New York City, and through that I met a lot of people. I experimented with my style a lot, and wound up getting a lot of work in TV production, which eventually led to me getting more interested in storytelling and writing longer form stories and making short films. And that kind of led to me getting into like TV show pitching and publishing. So I kind of started with a pretty like diverse experience working in a lot of formats and styles. And I think that really helped me get a lot better at what I do now.
Yeah, 100%, man. Diversity is so important, in seeing all the different ways that things can manifest, and different cultures and different mediums and everything, right? That's pretty amazing. So what project are you most proud of? Like, what's your favorite thing you've done so far?
It might be a recency bias, but I do think that what I'm most proud of now is my upcoming graphic novel, Talking to My Father's Ghost. That was my first time really writing something long form. It's like a 200-page graphic novel that's all traditionally colored with watercolor and inked. So I think that's been my most ambitious work yet, and it's like my most personal topic. So yeah, I gotta say that's like my proudest work so far.
I love it, man. I didn't know that it was watercolored as well. My father was a watercolor artist. Like, all these little faces you see above my head, those were all watercolor portraits and paintings that my dad did. And I think, we've been on a similar journey. My dad passed away in 2016, and dude, like, like I remember doing my first little kind of collaborative piece with him where I took one of his pieces and drew on top of it and made it was like an old sketch and turned it into like a final like actual painting and experimenting with watercolors myself. And it just something felt like just like was I can't describe it. It was just like goosebumps. Like he's just there with me the whole time, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And beautiful. So
When your father was alive, did you make art together?
only once we did this thing in the middle. So that was the original one, that face, and then I've manipulated them in Photoshop and did different color studies. And we did two other like little kind of yoga concepts. So I'd say like maybe 3 times, and it was years, probably like 6 years before he died, maybe 7, give or take. And I put in my calendar probably 2 years before he died, like go to Dad's house and do art with Dad. But he lives 45 minutes away from me, and we never circled back to it. And that was one of the things that was eating me.
Yeah.
So and I feel like I fixed it. If by doing art, like it was so healing, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Is like you can heal so much pain with art, and people do this. People in the tattoo industry know this, right? Like a lot. Like it's like how many people are getting tattoos in memoriam and just different things, and like to represent different milestones and painful healing processes in their life. I mean, like my dad, I knew he was dying, and I had him sign this piece of paper and put my birth date on it. And I told him when he dies, I was going to sign his masterpiece. So I just had I had that good tattooed on there. It was super cool. It's yeah, it's funny, and we had a good laugh about it, and it's beautiful to tell the story. It's my only tattoo, right? Like, what was the thing that I could put on my body that I would never regret? Like, no matter how old I get or what my likes and dislikes changes, like that will always have the same meaning for me, And so I think it's cool. So yeah, well, let's talk about your project. So man, I want to hear about it.
Yeah. I guess just to build on the last thing you said, I think it's great that you got to have that at least one collaboration in your dad's life, because it could definitely inform all the post-mortem collaborations you do together.
Yes.
I used to like draw comics with my dad when I was like really young. I would like scribble some like borderline nonsense on paper, because I was a child. And then I would give the paper to my dad, and he'd ask like, "What's going on in the scene?" And I would just like yammer and like narrate what's going on, and he would write it all out. So he would kind of transcribe what I babbled about into writing, and then that would go alongside my childhood drawings, and we would, then put it through a binder, one of those plastic binders, and we would have like a little book made out of it, and we made a lot of those together. So I do credit my dad for giving me like the creative confidence even as a child to like want to continue making stories. So it was really easy for me to believe in a project that was about like my father's spirit. I think if you work on a several 100-page graphic novel, you really gotta believe in the project, because you're going to hit certain periods of the production process where you're like, oh my God, why the hell am I doing this?
Yes.
And I think when it's like in memory of a family member who was really important to you, it's easy to push through those periods of doubt.
For sure. Yeah, that motivation to just keep going. I love that. Yeah, I had, I made my dad a promise on his deathbed when I was taking care of him. He was really upset about the fact that he never got his due with his artwork, and I've collected personally over 700, like what I would consider actual pieces of art, not sketches and little bullshit. I got endless stacks of those. I couldn't throw anything out when he died, like in terms of his art. I just hoarded it all. But I promised him, I was like, I will do something amazing with your art one day. Like, I don't want you to worry about that. I want you to just be here in this moment and like, do what you got to do to make it through the end of your life here. And like I didn't know what that was until NFTs came around, and I was like, oh my God, I can put all of my dad's artwork on the blockchain to be immortalized forever. Like, so even if I don't like get his name out there and make him into a famous dead artist, like somebody else might, and 100 years, who knows, right? So just the idea of it is like really cool. And then that got me excited about this idea of promoting his collection. Well, I could do that by making new art and then just talking about like the bond together, and that just all became this like rush of like just healing and motivation and excitement. It's like I hadn't really done art in years. Like I built this art studio, and then I'm not even on the art team because I need to run the company and find more business and do the books and do the bab, and then have like all this shit. Next thing you know, like I don't got time to do art. Like I've got artists on the team to do art, but I lost that piece of me. So like circling back to this, it's just like he had. I got to a point where I was like really kind of just grumpy and just like I had rebranded the business because the business had become a job, and like this whole thing kind of evolved into like, hey, this art over here is something I still need to do. And then finding this space in 2021 and then doing these posthumous collaborations, like it's been magical. And I have this like almost infinite well of creativity because I've made this commitment now for 3 years in a row, kind of going back to what you were saying, like when it's important and it's about somebody that was important to you, like you find that motivation, like you find that inner part that just keeps you inspired and keeps you pushing, and it's beautiful. I just love it. Like I have become an artist again because of my father in my grief of losing him and all of that. Like that's just beautiful.
Yeah. I'm positive that he would love to hear that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You want to hear a crazy story? Did I tell you this?
Let me hear it.
All right, so I'm doing this like so I my dad's been dead for like 2 months, 2016, and like I'm just fine. Like I hadn't done fine art since art school, and I graduated in 2008, right? So it's been 8 years since I've actually put like real like work on a piece of paper, right? Like on some actual. I mean, I've done a lot of digital shit and logos and stuff, but like so I took this thing and I'm doing the second one. I'd already done one. It felt amazing. It like blew something up in me that was just like, oh my God, this was all like a wall just shattered. Like I can do art. I feel inspired. So I'm doing this piece and like it's like 1 a.m. and I'm crying my face off. Like I'm just processing my feelings. I can't tell a story without crying. It's been since 2016. But anyways, so I'm crying my face off. I'm doing this art and it's 1 a.m. and my phone rings from Facebook Messenger, and there's a lady calling who I know used to date my dad, like one of my dad's girlfriend at some point in his life, towards the last few years. But I've never spoken to her ever, and she's calling me at 1 a.m. And I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" So I pick up the phone and I say hello, and she goes, "Carl, I'm not crazy." Like I was like, "I'm good to know." Like she's like, I loved your father very much, and he is very powerful and we have this deep spiritual connection. He still comes to me in my dreams. And then she says to me, your father woke me up from my dream and told me I had to call you right now to tell you how proud of you he is. I was like, holy shit. And I just lost it. And I still can't tell the story because it's so profound. What are the odds that I was doing a piece of art right in that moment and she woke up from her dream? Like, this just doesn't even make any sense other than what it seems to be. Like, so yeah, dude, it's magical. And in that moment, like, I was like, oh my God, I need to do this. This is a part of my life. I have to keep this. This feels so good. Nothing felt that good in my whole life. Like, it's crazy. I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Didn't mean to get all.
No, I appreciate the story and also you being real with your experiences.
Yeah, dude. That's all I can do.
Yeah, no, I think that's more than just happenstance.
100%. Have you had any interesting experiences like that, like or weird signs or just affirmations that like you're doing the right thing?
I think in like a spiritual sense, I feel like getting signs like that come to me when signs like that come to me when I feel like I'm making a decision that my dad would make. Like I feel his presence around me when I make like a smart financial decision. My dad was a CPA. He was smart and calculated with money. So whenever I do something like being offered like a quote from a mechanic or something, and I instinctively go and do more research to like make sure I'm like being like charged the right amount, is when I'm like I feel my dad's ghost in this garage right now. Um
I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, I feel like that's when I'll have like there's like a chill in the air or something.
I love that. I love that.
I do anything that um I like feel his influence.
It's beautiful. Yeah, and shout out to like being a CPA and like, this very much like not what you consider a creative minded individual and nurturing so much creativity in you. That's really powerful.
Absolutely.
That's amazing, So, love to the parents and dads who nurture creativity and artistry. And I love that story about just him helping you make these little comic books. That's really cool. Me and my guy, so my son, he's 13 now, but when my dad died, the second, or it's either the second or I think it's the third piece I did. The third piece, him and I did it together. Like I had him just get on there and just go to 10. He didn't know what he's doing. He's just being crazy, right? But like that just added to like the thing, and I just made the lines make sense. And it's one of my favorite pieces of art ever because we had that kind of same sort of experience, which was neat. But yeah,
That's sick. You got a really lucky kid to have for him to have like a dad who's so hyped on the art that he makes.
yeah,
That was my relationship with my father. He like he loved art when he was a kid, like up until he was like a teenager, he drew a lot. He like drew comics with a friend in high school and sold like they're not photocopies. They're like made with those old proto photocopiers, like Ditto machines. But he
nice.
I just learned what that was like from him.
Sure.
Yeah, which explains the name of Ditto the Pokemon. But um that's a whole other tangent. But yeah, he like loved music and art, and he like played in a band and everything. So whenever I did something creative, he was just like really hyped on it. He was like my biggest fan. And he definitely, like I said before, he just gave me the confidence and sometimes the arrogance of wanting to continue making art in a world that sometimes undervalues art.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I always like made time for it. I always prioritized trying to get in that line of work. And yeah, it came from him like being my hype man. So yeah, it was easy to convince myself that it's worth spending 3 years making a book about my relationship with my dad.
I love it, man. So let's talk about that. Like, what's the story arc of the book? Like, can you get into that, or is that kind of on the yeah? Let's get into it because I'd love to hear about it and just kind of the journey you went through, and maybe like the overarching story would be great.
Yeah, I guess I could have opened with that, but you're making it easy for me.
No worries.
So the book is about the first year of life after grieving, after losing someone. It like goes through 4 seasons, and my it starts with like my dad passing, and we like do the funeral, and then he comes back as a ghost, and we just kind of go through like all the conversations that I wanted to have with him that I never got the chance to. Um, and it's kind of just like an exploration of like processing. I kind of intend for it to be like an asset or like a resource that someone can use when they have recently experienced grief.
Yeah.
So there's like an arc to like my character in the book just um becoming more at peace with things, learning more about the deceased from having conversations with other family members.
Yeah, that's always fun.
And it's formatted like I mean it's kind of fun.
It is.
It's like
Yeah.
a mixture of lighthearted and sad because I still want it to be fun to read, and I'm like primarily known as a 4-panel gag comic artist.
Got it.
Yeah, that's like what I'm known for on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. So I'm mostly offering ways to laugh through life. There's sometimes a dark edge in my work, so I kind of wanted to have that maintained in this book, and
Sure.
it's formatted like a collection of like Sunday comic strips, kind of like a Calvin and Hobbes collection.
Okay. Okay.
I used to read a lot of those when I was a little fat kid, and I just hung out in the tub, and I just soaked in there for like 2 hours, and I just read like a whole collection of Foxtrot comics or something.
Nice.
So it's all like very uniform in length. It's all like 2-page vignettes, like very short chapters. And I did that for it to kind of just have that same pacing of reading like Sunday page after Sunday page, but there's an arc to it.
Right.
You see the seasons change, you see the characters' outfits change, and like the way that they approach grief changes over time too.
Sure. Yeah. The journey is God, it's crazy. It's a crazy journey. And there is grief and there is lightheartedness and there is, all that. And I think it's beautiful that you're putting something together here that like allows people to almost have like a guidebook of what to expect or even what's normal or what's not normal. Because sometimes, like, I remember when my dad first died because I was taking care of him. He was dying of cancer. I felt bad almost immediately that I had a sense of relief that I didn't have to worry about him anymore. Like the next day, I was like it was a weird conundrum of like, oh my God, well, I don't have to worry about him anymore. And I feel bad for feeling relief about that, which is a weird space, right? Because like then I'm mad at myself because like I'd rather him be here, like but it's and my wife actually, God bless her, helped me through that because she's like that's so normal and so absolutely like this is a taxing thing on everybody, and that's okay. Like and just having someone I cared about tell me that it was okay that this is normal, like that felt really relieving. I passed that advice on to everyone who I ever talked to that's recently dealing with like someone who was slowly dying, right? Like traumatic deaths, you don't have that as much, right? Because you're not in that space. But oh man, yeah, it's
I mean, I had a similar relationship with my father's death because he was sick for a really long time. He had a whole like cocktail of different illnesses and things going on with him. And it was cancer that killed him, but it definitely felt like he, his suffering could end through death.
right.
And it's like what you said that when it's like a sudden death, that's just like a tragedy. But when someone is like old and sick, it's sometimes a relief.
Yeah, it's just there's different parts of it, right? Like oh man. So this is cool, man. I'm really glad I'm getting to talk about this on the podcast. I haven't really done this. So
I hope that it's fun.
yeah, look, that was something my dad was amazing at too. He just made light of everything. It's just like, and that's really important. I saw a quote, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it's like, don't speak about your past loved ones in any different breath than when they were alive, right? Like, like love them like they're just in the next room waiting for you to come over and hang out in the next movie, or whatever that is, like the next part of this existence of ours being, and whether or not you believe there's definitely the next thing or not, like that doesn't even matter. Like the mindset of just, hey, like I'm just going to keep loving them the same. And, when maybe we'll get to see each other again, or hopefully in your faith, you believe that. And then you just keep living and you just tell all the funny stories and you keep it real and you just don't let their memory die, because you care about them, right? That's sort of what this all is, right? Like your father nurtured this amazing idea of visual storytelling and comic book writing from an age of like very young because he knew how powerful that is, right? And how how much joy and how much life that can just inspire, right? So, and here you are paying that forward and creating almost a manual for people to deal with their own grief. Like, that's beautiful, man. Like, kudos. Like, one of my friends, who I love dearly, has to take her father off of life support this morning. And like, it's like, fuck, like, I want to get a copy of this book and send it to her because I think she'll need it, you know? And like, yeah, it's just life is short and you just got to keep loving and doing the things that fill your cup and make you feel good. And to your point, you spent 3 years on this project, but how good does it feel now? Like, wow.
Yeah, you know, now that it's over, it feels really good.
I bet.
But like I said, like I was able to motivate myself to finish it because I believed in the story. But there were, times in it where I'm just like, I'm definitely like stewing in these like really hard feelings because I'm like trying to like, make something out of it. And when I started it, when I first wrote the proposal for the book, I didn't really think that it was going to take 3 years. I had mostly, like I said, I mostly come from web comics. I draw a 4-panel gag. I scan it. I post it. Everyone immediately gives me engagement and says, I like that. And yeah, I come from a background where the returns are instantaneous. And then I do this hard pivot where I go into traditional publishing, which like moves at a snail's pace. And it's taking so long. And I did it all traditionally because I'm a romantic idiot. And yeah, I feel like when I got to like the 2-year mark, I'm just like, oh man, I didn't expect me to be so deep in the trenches for so long. But being on the other side now and now being in like the promotional stage, and like organizing this like book release in August, feels really good and exciting. It turns out that it's worth working really hard on something. I had no idea.
Yes. You went from an art sprinter to like an ultra marathoner. Like, with little transition, it sounds like. That's pretty remarkable, man. And you have the testament to just what you can do with your inspiration, and you can channel that grief and that feeling of like, oh my God, wish I coulda, woulda, shoulda, and then build something beautiful with it, right? Like, and like just embracing those feelings are so important. Like, people try to like stuff their grief down and like put it on the side and get back to work and act like a fucking robot. Like, we're not robots. Like, there's plenty of robots in the world now. Like, well, let's not be them. Like, embrace your feelings.
Absolutely. And I think art that shows people's humanity is becoming like increasingly important.
Yeah.
So being able to get in touch with your challenging feelings and finding a way to communicate that feels natural for you is just a great skill to have, whether it be in like the industry that you're like the creative industry that you're in, or you just want to connect with other people.
100%.
Yeah, being in tune with those ugly feelings helps those connections.
Well, I think artists are probably so artists in general are probably more in tune with their feelings than most other professional type of, endeavors. Not to say that you can't be an artist in a lot of other things. And then, as you know, most men are trained from a young age to not have feelings or pretend like we don't have feelings. So like, being a man artist with feelings, like, it's just, and you get that because your father encouraged all those things into you. I'm sure of that. And my father did too. And when he was dying, he looked right at me. He's like, Carl, he's like, if you got 20 cries in you about this, I expect you to cry 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
Not 19, not 5, not 1. Like, as many times as you need to cry about me dying, cry. It's good for you. Like, yeah. And I probably spent the first week just crying, like, boo hoo. Like, I mean, there was one point where I cried so hard that like, I didn't, like, my body was numb and like there was no tears coming out anymore because I've been crying for like an hour, and it was just like, but it felt so healing. Like, it felt so much like like whatever that pain was like restructuring itself in my body, and like it was the wildest feeling. But like I don't know that I would have nurtured that. Like my mom wouldn't give me that advice, strangely enough. Like my mom be like, suck it up and get back to work, you know. Like my parents like roles were a little reversed that way, which is fine, you know. It's the balance. But yeah, it's
My family was similar.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny how that happens, you know. It makes some like weirdo artist guy here that like just spends his whole life being creative and having a good time. So I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, he should be.
So
Um,
good.
yeah, I feel like when people read my book, when it comes out, I want people's takeaways to, I guess, like one, be entertained, two, feel seen if they had similar experiences with loss and grief, and three, hopefully be motivated to maybe make some own art about their loss. Even if it's like, even if it's ugly, I think it's very therapeutic and healing to process experiences like that through making art about it.
It
It doesn't
is.
have to be a graphic novel. It could be music, it could be animation, it could be writing, it could even be cooking if food was a big thing in your family.
For
But
sure.
yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do with this book, because the process of making the graphic novel for myself was very healing and reaffirming, and I think talking with my family about where I'm at with the book and like gathering conversations from them to like add to the writing kept my dad's spirit alive and like around for longer. So I think it was a net good for both myself and the family and his spirit, and I really think that other people should do it too. It doesn't have to be 200 pages.
No.
Probably shouldn't be.
You know, it's whatever it takes, right? Like whatever you got to do to get it all out. It feels complete when it's complete, right? You know, I've got like 90 pieces of art I've done so far of my dad that's not done yet. You know, just you gotta, you know, it's okay. I've been doing it for 3 years as well, which is crazy. I didn't even think about that. Like every Wednesday night, religiously, like making art, including my dad's stuff in it in some fashion, if it's not completely like the whole thing surrounded around the idea of it. It's been pretty cool, man. Yeah, and I bet your family loved that experience too, and they were all proud of it and excited about it, because I'm sure you know they all loved your dad as well. And you don't have any kids yet, I assume, right?
Not yet.
Okay, so you know 10, 15 years from now, when you get to share this with your kid, you know, who's just old enough to get it, like it's gonna be have a whole nother depth of meaning and just like beauty to it that like maybe you hadn't even considered yet, you know, which is really cool. So
Oh, absolutely. I definitely thought about how, um, when I do have a kid, it's great that I have this book where I could be like, oh, do you wanna like learn a lot about your grandfather, right?
yeah.
Here's like a bunch of collected stories about him. Skip this page, and this page. You can read that when you're older.
These are 16 plus pages. These are 18 plus pages. Yeah, dude, that'd be like I never met my grandfathers. Like they both died before I was born, right? Like so I just, you know, that's so cool that like you're doing that, you know, because I had that experience where I didn't even have grandfathers growing up, you know. And my kid was like 5 when when my dad died. So he's got some memories of him, but we talk about him all the time because he was such a fantastical human being, in so many ways. But I've also created every week, like you know, especially the first year of the live stream, like I talked about my dad for 2, 3 hours every night as I'm making these pieces of art. And like, you know, I've diversified the stream more and done more things with it now, but it's like, yeah, for the most part, like those are all stories and documentation and this kind of like organic memoir of my father, which lives on forever on YouTube. As long as we don't get hit by like a solar flare or something, they'll probably be there forever. So you know, that's always good. But so I'm a little curious. So you decided to go on this endeavor. Like talk me through that decision making process. Like, okay, I have this idea, and then how does that go into like, all right, well, I got to pitch this to somebody. Did you get paid to like then make it, or did you make it all on your own, like on your own sweat equity and then get someone to pick it up? Like, talk me through that process because I'm sure people would be fascinated by that.
Yeah. Uh, I guess the way that it started was that I had a publisher reach out to me who is a fan of my webcomic series, Loud and Smart, that I have on my socials. And they said, like, oh, would you ever be interested in like making something original with us? And I did, didn't really have anything like on the docket, and I kind of was putting together something to just like hit them back with. But I had a friend of mine who's also a cartoonist who said like, "Oh, you should have an agent to just help you like negotiate things like this. And when a publisher reaches out to you with an offer, that's a much easier way to line up an agent because for them, that's essentially free money. Like, oh, he has the offer already. Let me just get in there and take 10% really easy.
Yeah, but
But
protect you. The 10%'s worth it, right? But yeah,
absolutely. And in the end, he was able to negotiate like a much better deal for me. So it was good for that. But that initial deal I got was kind of a lowball. And I'm so grateful that I got it though, because it put me in touch with my current lit agent who was able to work with me on my premise, which originally was like unrelated to my father. It wasn't a very good one. It was like an adaptation of an idea I had for a TV show. Um, and this was around the time that like my dad was sick, that I was working on this old proposal, and then my dad died, and I was really sad, and I was kind of just eclipsed with thoughts pertaining to like him and my family. And I kind of just did a hard pivot and I like emailed my agent saying like I kind of want to just do a story about like my dad coming back and like we're hanging out and just talking about stuff. And he saw a lot of potential in that and kind of just walked me through like the building a proposal process of like these are the things you got to have in it. It has to have a really clear story that starts and ends. You have to have like your characters developed and like all these things. And we did a couple of iterations of this proposal. And I really owe a lot to my agent for chiseling this marble of grief into something coherent with me.
yeah,
Just because I think he saw something in there that I didn't even really see yet, but I think I spoke passionately about it. So, yeah, he had like the patience and the belief to help me figure out what this was going to be. So, uh, we eventually found like an iteration of it that was good to shop around, and we like showed it to a bunch of different publishers. And a few were interested. But the one who I thought I had the best connection with was Chronicle Books, and we got a deal with them, and I signed a piece of paper. And since I signed the piece of paper, it meant I had to do it.
yeah.
And there is no bigger motivator to get a job done than a contract.
Well, and that can also zap the fun out of it too. So you got to have that balance. But yeah,
It definitely wasn't always fun.
oh sure, no, and it never can be, right? Like there's parts of it that just suck. On any long term production thing for sure. Dude, love for you to shout out your agent if you like. If that's
Oh yeah. Shout out Ed Maxwell at Transatlantic Agency. I love you. Thank you for helping me make a good book, man.
amazing.
I say that in the back of the book too. This won't be the first time that he's heard that.
That's all right. We just got gotta pay it forward whenever we can, right?
Absolutely.
So I love that. So you sign the contract. The contract looks like, hey, we're gonna pay you XYZ to produce the book, and then you get XYZ of royalties, and they get XYZ of royalties, and do they put a time frame on you, or is it just like it's done when it's done? Like,
There was a time frame, and there were like little like goalposts for like milestones of every like step of the production, like writing a script, um doing a sketch of the whole book, having inks and pencils, and then like having the fully colored version at the end.
yeah,
And I was pretty good at hitting those deadlines. I asked for an extension once or twice, and I'm usually pretty timely with that. Like I'm pretty good at like foreseeing how how much I'm falling behind.
right.
So I feel like it's pretty easy to ask for extensions from a publisher when you like give them enough notice.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you're a production artist before this, right? Like getting shit done in the creative space. So that probably helped you a lot, having a good idea of like the business side of how this needs to work, and like setting expectations and having good communication. So
Oh, absolutely. Those aren't really things that you learn in cartooning.
no,
Um, Cartooning is such a solitary practice, and you definitely don't get better at talking to people
no.
working alone in your room all the time. So I'm really glad for the work I've done on like ad and TV animation production pipelines, because you're working with so many people are relying on you, that you have to get better at just being communicative and like kind of working on the same schedule as everyone else.
100%, man. So we have my agency. All we do is animation and digital art, and in the gaming and the entertainment and tech space. And it's the talent. You have to have the talent to get on the team, obviously, right? But like, there's a lot of people with tons of talent. The real differentiator is the communication, and like, do you fit the company culture, and are you like an accountable adult that can be relied upon, and like, or is it every time we give you a project, the dog eats your homework 4 times and your grandma dies twice, and then and it's just like, that stuff just doesn't work, and especially in a world where like we have such a lenient, most people are working remotely now as creatives, right? There's very few of us are like, as creative leaders, are wasting money on big office spaces and making everyone come to the office. It just doesn't nurture creativity like we all thought it did. In a previous generation, I feel like there's probably some things that are lost, but I think there's a lot more that's gained, at least in our company culture. But yeah, that ability to really understand the business side of how all this works, and the good communication and good expectations, and going, hey, look, I'm behind here, and like, there's no way I'm going to get caught up. So let me just let them know ahead of time, so that all the expectations are being constantly revised, so everyone's on the same page. Like, it's not even crazy, like it's way better to tell someone ahead of time than lie to them all the way up until the day of and go, oh well, now and then come up with an excuse. Like, that's not good. That stresses everybody out way more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also teach art at a couple of colleges, and I always tell my students like, hey, because I ask my students to do a lot. I really push them, and I tell them like, hey, I think it's good practice for you guys to be able to see like a few days at least ahead into the future, and know whether or not you'll be able to hit deadlines. And if you are falling behind, just like email me and tell me, um, because this is how it is in real life. Like, the more notice that you give someone that you're not going to be able to deliver the thing that you're being paid to deliver, the more lenient they will be with you. They don't want to wake up at the beginning of the workday and then see an email from you that the thing that is supposed to come in at 10 a.m. now needs like another week or something.
Right. Yeah. It's just, what I think people don't realize about it is it's disrespectful. Like, it's just not good etiquette.
Yeah.
So yeah. But hopefully that helps some people as well. So yeah. Any other big lessons or takeaways you took from this whole experience of like just going from quick, fast, like single serving creative pieces to like, I'm just dumped 3 years of my life into a thing. Hopefully people don't think it sucks. Like, you know what I mean?
I guess like I learned uh how different the skill sets can be for different formats of storytelling. And not to be like too like comic inside baseball about it or anything, but I came from this as a webcomic artist who just writes like really short four panel gags, and I got really good at that. I think I got really good at like telling snappy jokes. But shifting gears into like telling like a like 3 arc narrative story over like 200 pages as something like completely different of me. And I'm really proud of what I did, and I think I did a great job. But it hit some roadblocks in the writing and editing process, and it made me, push me to consume more works that are like formatted similarly to what I was doing. And it was admittedly kind of a while since I did that. Since I'm like an Instagram artist, I spend a lot of time on my phone, and I look at a lot of art that is made for the phone. Like I follow a lot of other comic artists, and I think to like make a good graphic novel, I kind of had to pull myself away from this habit of just like looking at like social media based artists and really like dive into the medium that I was trying to break out into.
Yeah,
And I know now that's like what you have to do for anything if you're trying to pivot into a new craft. You have to surround yourself with it and consume it and see what works for this format in particular, because your skill set won't always translate to a new medium.
for sure. That's great advice. That love of learning and getting into the. I mean, it's just like rather than invent something from scratch, like see what the successful things are doing, right? Like it just makes sense. Like someone's already doing this well, so see what they're doing, and then adapt your thing to it, right? Like totally makes sense. So
Yeah, yeah. I also thought about this when I got the advanced reader copy from my publisher, and I was holding it in my hands for the first time. First off, oh my God, what an amazing feeling
oh yeah,
for this thing that I was exclusively reviewing as like a PDF on my desktop is now an actual physical object. That feels great. But just the act of reading the story in like a physical book format hit different than me like scrolling through a PDF and reading it like it's a webtoon. Like feeling that like in my hand that there's only like 20 pages left, and
yeah,
like we're like getting to the ending of it adds a adds, I guess, a figurative and literal weight to the story. And I might sound like a little like corny and like schmaltzy getting so romantic about it, but that's something you don't have when you're reading a PDF of a book or a webcomic. Like you don't have like this physical feeling that the story is coming to an end. And that was like really like exhilarating to feel for the first time.
dude. That's actually really a thing. And I hadn't really considered it too much. That I really haven't read a whole lot of books that are really long from start to finish in a physical form. I do a lot of audiobooks and stuff, and you know, ADD is really really hard to read with. But I do my best. That said, that is a thing. Like it's very much a thing, and it's cool. I hadn't considered it, so I'm glad you said that. But
Yeah, like I feel like the closest thing we get to that with like audiobooks is like sometimes if you're like looking at Spotify or whatever, you'll see that the cursor is almost near the end. And that's
yeah,
kind of the same. But it's not as tactile.
sure. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, dude, this has been really cool. I think there's so many great bits of wisdom in here for people, and I'm sure that they're that our audience will get value out of this episode, which is always the goal, right? So,
absolutely. Sorry for bumming you out, guys, but I hope that it also inspired you.
I doubt anybody was bummed out by this podcast. I'm sure they're inspired. I'm sure people are excited to see, what this looks like and give it a read. So, we are coming up on time, but before we wrap, I would like to ask you one last question. Is there anyone or anything in your career that you'd like to shout out to the audience? Maybe a mentor, a valuable resource, or a favorite client? Something you haven't mentioned already.
Yeah. Let's see. For resources, if you're interested in learning more about the craft of comics, check out the book Understanding Comics by Scott McCloud. That's something that I recommend to my students in my comic classes a lot. If you want to get into animation, check out the Animator Survival Kit by Richard Williams. These are obvious recs to like animation and comic heads, but those are two books that I got when I started out, and not only are they fun to read, but they're very densely packed with great info. And lastly, I'll recommend the podcast Creative Block, which is an interview series with different artists in like the comics and animation field, and they started in COVID, and that was just a resource that like really kept me company while I was coming up with projects to do during lockdown.
Oh, cool.
Second best podcast out there after Pixel Retentive.
I love it. Yeah. We're on the way up for sure. Awesome, man. Well, look, I really appreciate it, Alex. This has been a super fun conversation. So we've been talking with Alex, a cartoonist working in comics and animation. You can check out their website at alexkrokus.com. That's ALEXKROKUS.com. But if listeners want to follow up with you directly, where should they go?
You can follow me on Instagram. My handle is at Alex Krokus, ALEXKROKUS. I'm also on Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, and I think those are like the last remaining websites. So that's all we got.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can stay up to date with my book. Comes out August 5th.
Awesome. And I just followed you while I was on the stream, or while we're on the show here. So cool, man. I appreciate it. All right, Alex. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll see you all next time. We really hope you enjoyed the show. Please like and subscribe to join us on our next journey through the world of art and business on the Pixel Retentive podcast.